I'm Emily McKhann. I'm co-founder of themotherhood.com. It's an online community for mothers.
I'm Chrysula Winegar. I blog at WLBconsultants.com about work-life balance issues.
I'm Kristina Daniele, and I am co-founder of Moms of Hue, a blog about mothers of color and the issues we face.
The topic of mothers and children it's been a big one this week. Can you explain why it's so important when thinking about the Millennium Development Goals?
So mothers and children, I mean, what we've seen, and mothers are talking about it ever since the Nobel Prize went to the Grameen Bank, acknowledging that microloans can make such an impact. Women have seen in the US and developed world that in the developing world, it's going to turn everything around. If we can take care of one mother, if one mother can stay alive through childbirth, if she can keep her family together. So healthy families, healthy communities, healthy towns, healthy countries. And so what we see is the connection of mom to mom that can happen online, because we can connect around our stories and we don't have to have large organizations that get in the middle of that. So I can know what's going on down the street, locally in my town by using the web, or I can use the web to find out what's happening on another continent and be a part of it and feel like whatever I contribute is going to matter and make a difference and see that progress and know that little by little it actually is going to get better, that it's not going to stay. These problems that have been around since really the beginning of time, actually, you know what? We might change them.
Emily was talking about in the panel today about the fact that mothers online in the United States in particular are really focused on domestic issues more than international issues. But as we spoke today and from the respective readerships that we have, there's a real sense of shift in that. And mothers who are online really want to connect with mothers all over the world. And again, it's that mother-to-mother connection. It's that relationship of trust. It's that feeling that when you give birth to a child or you become a mother through adoption, whatever that process is, that physical process connects you in a way that you've never been connected before to every mother around the world. So the Millennium Development Goals obviously are critical. The closest to my heart is maternal and child health issues and the education and empowerment of women. Those are everything. Every other Millennium Development Goal that we have are coming from those goals. We've heard it time and time again this week. And the bottom line is that your everyday, ordinary mother online can understand that. And if the international community can find ways to make it easy for mothers online to grab onto that connectedness and leverage it through their communities, then we've got something really powerful going on.
I think it's so important for us to just realize that moms have voice. And they're part of the Millennium Goals. Why they're so important for us to reach these goals and to really focus on women is because with women, we have such an uncanny knack for empathy. We can change the world simply by giving a hug. You know, we can change the course of anything just by listening. And people need to know that, and they need to listen to us in return. And I think it's so important for the international community to just realize that moms are not just the givers of life. We don't just bear children. We nurture them. We create whole countries. We are the ones who empower everyone. We are behind the empowerment of children, of men, of everything, and we need to be heard.
So what about for the mothers at home that might feel, I don't have a clue about blogging, what difference can I make, just me on my own? What would you say to them?
I would actually say that most women are actually online already. Whether they have a blog or not, they're on Facebook. They are finding the blogs. They don't have to be a blogger to be in the blogger community, because they can be commenting on the blogger's posts and be a part of what the blogger is saying. They can, on their own Facebook page, say, I just saw this fascinating article, I need to do something. And then her friend, when she sees that she likes that post on Facebook, could say, I want to do something too. And that's where one of the things we heard over and over again in the survey as well is make it easy for me to get involved. If it's a click or two and I can share my story too and be a part of it, don't make me dive in and give you, my whole, don't give me a form to fill out with 20 blank spaces in it. Make it really easy, and that's what's happening too.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, social media is a phenomenal way for any mother to get involved that has access to a computer. Now, obviously the digital divide comes in here, and we would be remiss in not acknowledging that. However, there is a knock-on effect that those of us who have been able to have that access, you know, the early enablers of the blogging world, like Kristina, who's been blogging right from the get-go, have made it really easy for more and more of us to come into the blog space as time has progressed. And the same thing will happen as the digital divide gets smaller and smaller around the globe. We're doing all of this in the English language, but as more and more women globally get access, and it will happen, and it is happening, then that conversation can take place in hundreds of languages, and there'll be Facebooks for every language and every group. And in the meantime, those of us that have that access, it's our responsibility to share stories. It all comes back down to storytelling and connectedness. And I can't solve the digital divide, but I can communicate with the resources that I have right now.
And of course, it's important to know that, you know, the digital world, the digital communities, they're a tool, they're not the only tool. But I do believe that if you have access to it, as a woman, there is nothing better for you in terms of moving forward and just bettering your life than to learn how to use technology. So even if you don't have like an understanding of blogging, the point is, learn to use the technology. Learn it because it is going to help you move forward. And as you learn it, you teach it to your children and you teach it to your grandchildren. And so the more we get involved with the digital world and the more we make our presence known on the digital world, the greater effect we'll have.
You know, I think related to that too is that every blogger can tell a story about women they met online and then they met them in real life.
Yes.
And you've been reading their stories, you've been knowing what they're going through, and then you meet them and they're like a sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the first time you've seen them face to face, and that is happening on all across the web. And as it relates to the larger millennial goals overseas, we're not necessarily all going to get on a plane and fly to places that we can't afford to go to, but we don't know what those connections online will result in real life. Like, we have no idea. It's not just a voice on a computer screen here and a voice on a computer screen here. It's going to result in real programs and connections that happen on the ground, in their homes, in the newspapers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not to sound cliched, but it only takes a spark, right? So, I mean, seriously, if we're talking, you know, building a movement, it starts with one action.
And while we're talking of cliches, no, it is a cliche and yet so powerfully true. The more I get involved with mothers all over the world, the more I am focused on what unites us rather than what divides us. That shared experience opens up this door of, you know, we want to take care of our children. We want to have them healthy. We want them to go to good schools. We want them to learn about the opportunity that exists. We want them to have dreams and have chances to fulfill those dreams. We all care about the same things.
So one other thought also in terms of the opportunity with these voices coming together is we also talked a bit about on our panel about this idea of co-creating. So before the web, it was all one organization from the top down would say, this is what our programs are going to be, this is what our programs are going to look like, here's how we're going to have the impact on the world. Now, with Women Online, it's all about co-creation. It's all about women being able to say, this is what touches me, or how about this idea, or I could bring my community and my resources to bear and it would look like this. And that co-creation is where the magic shows up. And the organization that figures out, not, I'm going to keep doing it the old pyramid way, but I'm going to figure out how to be that organization and tap all that brilliance, all that passion, all that commitment and connections, and says we can actually co-create together. They're the ones who are going to just explode this.
I think finally we really just need to understand alone we're pretty powerful, we're a force, but together we're a movement, and that's why I think it's so important for us to just make sure that we can create a community that's going to move forward.